Ethan Cole still heard her small voice in his head as they walked away from the wedding crowd, the fairy lights fading behind them. Just gotta be there, that's all, Lily had said, like it was the simplest thing on earth. He'd spent years throwing money at problems, buying solutions, upgrading everything in his life except himself. And here was this kid with freckles and a crooked ponytail telling him the one thing his millions couldn't shortcut. You don't gotta know everything, she'd added, swinging his hand with this stubborn little confidence. Just be with me, okay? The words punched right through his chest. No mercy. Boardrooms, investors, mergers. None of that had ever made his throat tighten like this 8-year-old did in one sentence. He'd always believed his value was in what he knew, what he could fix, what he could build. But standing there on that path, he finally realized maybe it was in who he chose to stand beside. Yeah, he'd said, his voice coming out rougher than he liked. Yeah, kiddo, I can do that. I'm here. They walked in this soft, comfortable silence, shoes crunching on gravel. Music from the reception echoing faint behind them, like some distant life he wasn't sure he wanted anymore. For once, he didn't feel like he needed to fill the quiet with plans or promises or big, flashy gestures. Being there shoulder to shoulder with her somehow felt like enough. At the edge of the garden, the warm glow of the reception lights spilled across the lawn, guests laughing, clinking glasses, their world spinning as if nothing had changed. But Ethan felt completely different, like someone had walked into his operating system and hard reset everything, and he was just now noticing how empty the previous version had been. He knelt down beside Lily before they went back in, his tailored suit pulling at the shoulders, not made for kneeling in grass. Hey, he said softly, I meant what I said. I'm not bouncing again. I'm in. She stared at him for a second like she was checking his code for bugs, then gave him a tiny smile that felt bigger than any deal he'd ever signed. Okay, she whispered. I believe you. Kinda. He laughed, something loosening in his chest, and squeezed her hand once more before they stepped back into the noise, the smell of champagne and perfume rushing over them. Her cousins spotted her instantly, pulling her toward the dance floor, and she glanced back at him once, that small smile lingering like she was saving a screenshot of this moment. Ethan stood near the door, hands in his pockets, watching her like a guy who just realized the most important stock in his life had been sitting there, wildly undervalued for years. Later that night, the city spread out beneath his penthouse, like a lit-up circuit board. Windows glowing, traffic sliding through the streets like liquid neon. He leaned his forearms on the glass railing, tie loose around his neck, the buzz of the wedding long gone, replaced by a restless ache he couldn't debug. He'd built Colink from a crappy rented office and a borrowed laptop, turned it into a tech giant everyone called unstoppable, but here now, he felt clueless as hell. He knew what to do when numbers dipped or servers crashed, but he had no damn idea how to make up for missing his kids' first words, first steps, first everything. 7 years gone, swallowed by I'll reach out later, and I'll get to it when things calm down. Except they never did, because he always found another fire to put out that wasn't his own. His phone buzzed on the counter, dragging him out of the spiral. And when he saw the name on the screen, his stomach dipped. Mia. He stared at the caller. ID like it might bite him, thumb hovering for a second before he hit accept, forcing his voice to sound cool. Hey, she said, and even through the speaker he could hear that calm, careful tone, like she was holding a glass that had already cracked once and didn't want to push it. Wedding go okay? He asked, trying way too hard to sound casual, knowing she could probably hear the nerves underneath. It was nice, she said. Lily had fun. She really liked spending time with you today. There was a pause. His chest tightened. He leaned back against the countertop, staring at the ceiling like it might have answers. Okay, shoot, I think it's time we actually talk, Mia said, her voice steady, about what this is going to look like. Shh, I'm not going to let you just pop in and out like some guest star. He swallowed, the words hitting harder than he expected, even though he knew they were coming. I get that, he said quietly. I deserve that. She's my whole world, Ethan, Mia went on. Yeah. She lit up today, but I need to know you're in this for real. No disappearing act when work gets crazy again. No, sorry, something came up every other week. He rubbed his forehead, guilt biting at him, but under it there was this fierce, new determination, like something old and lazy inside him had finally been fired. I hear you, he said. I'm not trying to half-step this. I want to be her dad, for real. There was another pause, softer this time. Okay, Mia said. Then let's start by talking in person. Coffee tomorrow? No assistance, no calendar excuses. He almost smiled at that. She knew him too well. Yeah, he said. Yeah, I'll be there. Just tell me when and where. She gave him the name of this little cafe downtown, nowhere near his usual investor haunts, something more human-sized, then hung up with a quiet goodnight. The silence afterward felt heavier, but not hopeless, like the quiet right before you roll up your sleeves and really start fixing things. He paced his open-planned kitchen, bare feet whispering across the cold floor, staring at the reflection of the city in the glass. Wondering how the hell you relearned being a dad after years of being a ghost? Work had always been easy to hide behind emails, calls, deals. Endless urgent crap that made him feel important, but Lily had blown right past all of that with one sentence. He opened his laptop, the screen lighting up with charts and dashboards, then shut it again without even logging in, surprising himself with how done he suddenly was with pretending tonight. The next morning, his office felt different, like it belonged to somebody he used to know. All sharp lines, big screens, and no space for a kid's drawings or soccer ball. His assistant, Karina, rattled off his meetings, but he waved her off halfway through. Clear the afternoon, he said. I've got something I can't move. She raised an eyebrow, 'cause normally he was the guy who moved heaven and earth to make meetings happen. But she just nodded. You got it, boss. Sitting at his desk, he tried to focus on a product roadmap. But every time his eyes hit a bullet point, all he saw was Lily's face when she'd said, just be with me. By the time early afternoon rolled around, he'd changed his shirt twice, argued with himself about whether he was overthinking it, then finally grabbed his keys and dipped out before he could talk himself into staying. The cafe Mia picked was small, cozy, the kind of place with wonky chairs and chalkboard menus, not his usual sleek glass and chrome vibe. He got there 10 minutes early, because of course he did, and spent the entire wait pretending to read the menu while replaying every stupid choice he'd made since 21. When Mia walked in, time did that weird stretch thing. She looked different, but also exactly like he remembered. Same sharp brown eyes, same tired half-smile, just a little more guarded. Hey, she said, sliding into the chair across from him. Her fingers wrapped around a paper cup like it was some kind of anchor. Hey, he echoed, suddenly feeling like the kid who'd walked away instead of the guy who'd built an empire. You look. Good, she gave a tiny shrug. I look tired, she said. But thanks. They traded small talk for a minute, letting the awkwardness burn off, before Mia finally took a breath like she was about to hit send on a risky email. So, Lily, yeah, he said, leaning forward, hands folded so she wouldn't see them shake. Lily, she likes you, Mia said. That much is obvious. She talked about you the whole car ride home. That scares me, Ethan. He flinched. Not because she was harsh, but because she was honest. And it was the kind of honesty he'd dodged for years. I get that, he said. I earned that fear. I'm not calling you a villain, she said, voice softer now, but you dipped. You know you did. Work, life, whatever she still ended up without you. I can't let that happen again. He nodded slowly, forcing himself not to deflect, not to spin. I was a coward, he said. It's selfish. I thought I had time to fix it later, like everything else. I was wrong. Mia studied him for a few long seconds, eyes searching his face like she was trying to tell if this was just another pitch. So what's different now? She looked at me, he said quietly, and I saw how much I missed. It's like I've been grinding for a scoreboard that doesn't even matter if she's not on it with me. I'm done playing like that. Her expression shifted just a bit, the edges softening. Words are easy, she said. You're good with words. I'm gonna need time. She's gonna need consistency. I'm not asking for a free pass, he replied. No welcome back, Champ Banner. I'll show up. I'll keep showing up, no matter how weird, boring, or inconvenient it gets. Mia glanced out the window, then back at him. Okay, she said slowly. Then how about we start small? Saturday, you take her to the park near my place? Nothing fancy? No crazy surprises? It's just time. His heart kicked up like he'd just closed a massive deal. He said, yeah, I can do that. Text me the address. I'll be there. Don't be late, she said, not quite joking. She notices when people are late now. He winced, the truth of that landing right where it should. "I'll be early," he said, Scout's honor. After they finished their coffee, Mia stood, tugging her jacket tighter around herself. And for the first time in a long time, their goodbye didn't feel like a slammed door more, like someone leaving a window cracked. In the parking lot, Ethan sat in his car for a solid 5 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, just breathing, trying to process the fact that he had an actual shot at not screwing this up. Back at the office, he opened his calendar and dragged a big red block over all of Saturday, labeling it Lily Day before anyone could distract him with talk of quarterly earnings. When a coworker pinged him about a potential networking brunch that weekend, he typed back, "Can't. Family stuff," and the words felt strange and ridiculously good all at once. Saturday morning came faster than he expected, bringing a knot of nerves that made him feel like a teenager before prom, not a dude who signed 7-figure contracts before lunch. He pulled up outside Mia's place in his matte black SUV, suddenly hyper-aware of how out of place it looked on the quiet, tree-lined street with its older, slightly beat-up cars. The front door opened and Lily burst out onto the porch, sneakers half-tied, hair in a loose braid, her excitement practically vibrating off her. "Hi, Dad." The title hit harder than any title he had at the company. He stepped out of the car, forcing himself not to rush, and crouched down so they were eye level. "Hey, Bug," he said, "you ready to own this park?" She giggled, nodding way too fast. "Mom said I gotta hold your hand crossing the street, though," she added, already reaching for him like it was the most natural thing in the world.
Ow.
Mia stood in the doorway. Arms folded, but not in that hostile way from years ago, more like she was bracing herself against something she hoped would go right. "Text me when you get there," she said. "And when you're heading back." "Got you," he replied, giving her a quick, respectful nod. "We'll keep it chill." On the drive to the park, Lily filled the car with a non-stop stream of updates, her teacher's weird laugh, the kid in her class who always smelled like crayons, her favorite game on her tablet. He listened, really listened, tossing in little "no way" and "for real." And that's wild at all the right spots, amazed at how easy it was to just be there in the moment when he actually tried. The park wasn't big, not some fancy city landmark, just a quiet stretch of grass, a couple of old trees, and a playground with slightly squeaky swings. But to Lily, it might as well have been Disneyland. She yanked him toward the swings first, insisting he sit in one, and then cackling when he nearly tipped backward trying to pump his legs. "You're so bad at this," she said, eyes sparkling. "Wow, drag me then," he laughed, steadying himself. "Okay, your turn, pro. Let me see how it's done." She hopped on the swing like she'd practiced for this her whole life, legs kicking confidently, hair flying behind her as he pushed, gentle at first, then higher when she shouted, "More." As he watched her soar, tiny sneakers reaching for the sky, something in his chest unclenched like he'd been holding his breath for 7 years and finally exhaled. Other parents were scattered around, some on benches, some scrolling their phones, some running around with their kids. For the first time, he didn't feel like some weird outsider watching from the sidelines. After the swings, Lily dragged him to the jungle gym, climbing like a little ninja, calling out, "Dad, look at this," every 5 seconds, just to make sure his attention stayed locked on her. "I see you," he called back each time, proud of how easily the words came. "Okay, Spider Girl, don't break the sound barrier up there." They played tag badly on his part until he was breathing heavier than he wanted to admit, and she collapsed into giggles every time he missed her on purpose and pretended to trip. Eventually, they stumbled over to a bench near the duck pond, both of them flushed and sweaty, Lily tearing into a juice pouch while he tried to pretend he wasn't out of shape. "So, what do you do again?" she asked between sips, eyes bright with casual curiosity. "Mom said you like make apps and stuff." He smiled, scratching the back of his neck. "Yeah, kinda. I started a company that builds tools to help people stay connected even when they're not in the same place. Chats, calls, all that. That's cool," she said, nodding like she was grading him. "So you're like the boss?" "Something like that," he admitted. "But, I'm still learning the dad job. That one's new." She swung her feet absent-mindedly, processing that, then said, "I want to make video games one day. Or maybe be a vet. Haven't decided yet." "Both sound awesome," he said. "You could make games about saving animals." Boom. Combo career. $1 million idea right there. She laughed, crinkling her nose. "You're so extra," she said, but there was this little glow in her eyes, like she liked that he took her dreams seriously. The afternoon slipped by in a blur of slides, made-up games, and duck drama, until the lights started to turn that warm, golden color that made everything feel like a movie. As they headed back toward the car, Lily's hand found his again, without him even asking, her steps slowing just a little, like she wasn't ready for the day to end. In the car, she hummed along to the radio, occasionally chiming in with the wrong lyrics, and Ethan caught himself thinking that this messy, imperfect happiness was better than any perfect life he'd planned. When they pulled up in front of Mia's house, Lily unbuckled her seatbelt in record time and launched herself out, sprinting to the porch to spill every detail before he even killed the engine. He watched from the sidewalk as she talked with wild hand gestures, Mia's mouth curving into a surprised smile, her shoulders relaxing bit by bit. Walking up the path, he heard Lily say, "He's actually fun, Mom, like for real. He fed ducks and he fell on the grass and everything." Mia shot him a look over Lily's head, amused. "You fell?" Allegedly, he said, hands up in mock surrender. "No solid proof." Whatever, Lily said, rolling her eyes in this miniature teenager way. It was funny. "Thank you for today," Mia said quietly once Lily darted inside for a snack. "She looks lighter." "I haven't seen that in a while." He swallowed past the lump in his throat. "Thank you for letting me be here," he said. "I know I didn't exactly earn an easy on-ramp." "You're not done earning it," she replied. But there wasn't any venom in it, just honesty. But this was a good start. Driving back to his building, the penthouse felt less like a prize and more like a place that just happened to have his stuff in it, especially without Lily's loud commentary bouncing off the walls. He leaned on the kitchen island, staring at his phone, thumb hovering over apps he suddenly wanted nothing to do with. Then deleted a couple he knew were just there to distract him from being alone. Instead, he opened a blank note and typed, "Be a dad, not a boss," at the top. Then started listing tiny, simple things: call her, show up, listen, apologize, stay. Over the next few weeks, that note turned into real-life FaceTime calls where he helped her with math homework, last-minute ice cream runs when she'd had a rough day, quick park hangs between meetings. He started leaving the office earlier on his Lily days, ignoring the teasing from a couple of execs about going soft, because the only scoreboard he cared about now was the one in her eyes. One evening, after dropping Lily off, he lingered on the porch instead of bolting back to his car, and Mia stepped outside, pulling the door halfway closed behind her. "She's been sleeping better," Mia said without preamble. "Less waking up from bad dreams. Fewer questions about where you are when you don't text." "That's good," he said, shoving his hands into his jacket pockets so he wouldn't reach for something he hadn't re-earned yet, like a hug. "I'm trying to keep things predictable, no more disappearing into the grind." "I noticed you turned down that conference in Austin," she said. "Used to be you'd jump on a plane if someone waved a mic in your direction." He shrugged, a little embarrassed. "There's more important stuff than panels and press," he said. "I'll be fine without me saying synergy into a microphone." She snorted, a tiny, surprised laugh escaping. "You really are changing, huh?" "I'm trying," he said. "Doesn't mean I won't screw up. I probably will. But I'm done bailing when it gets hard." Mia looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay," she said. "Then let's set a schedule. What thing Lily can count on? Tuesdays, Thursdays, every other Saturday?" He nodded quickly. "Whatever works best for her. I'll build work around it. Seriously, my assistant can deal." They ironed out the details right there on the porch, swapping times and logistics, and when they were done, Mia actually smiled. Small, but real. "She's watching, you know," she said, nodding toward the window. He glanced over and caught Lily's face, peeking out from behind the curtain, eyes bright, fingers wiggling a tiny wave when she realized she'd been spotted. He waved back, heart stupidly full, and thought, yeah, that's exactly why I'm here. Ethan sat in his car a moment longer after leaving Mia's place that night. The porch light thrown a warm circle around the doorway where she'd just disappeared inside. He could still see the outline of Lily's small hand pressed briefly to the window, like she wanted to make a print on his memory before bedtime. Driving back through the city, the streets felt different now. Not just routes between meetings and airports, but paths that either led him toward his kid or away from her. He chose toward. Every time. The schedule they'd set up started to fill his weeks in a way no productivity app ever had. Tuesdays and Thursdays, and every other Saturday marked off in bold, non-negotiable blocks. At first, his team gave him looks, the kind that said, "Who are you, and what did you do with our workaholic CEO?" But he just smiled and said, "It's called balance. Try it sometime." He started picking Lily up after school some days, standing there with the other parents, hands in his hoodie pockets, feeling weird and out of place, until she came barreling out of the building yelling, "Dad," at full volume. Every time she did that, something inside him sat up a little straighter, like hearing the word rewired his bones. He learned that she hated mushrooms on pizza, loved science videos about space, and had exactly zero patience for kids who didn't share the swings. He also learned that she could tell when he was distracted, even for a second, because she'd snap, "Hey, eyes up." Dude, if he so much as glanced at his phone while she was talking. So he stopped glancing. One Thursday, he brought her to his office for the first time, trying to play it cool when the elevator doors opened, and she stepped out like she was walking onto a movie set. "Whoa," she breathed, spinning slowly, eyes taking in the glass walls, the big screens, the rows of desks. "This is where you do boss stuff." "Yep," he said, kneeling beside her. "Q, but don't worry, nobody bites. I already warned them the real CEO's coming today." She giggled and slipped her small hand into his as they walked through, coworkers pretending not to stare while also totally staring, charmed by the mini-human trailing their usually intense leader. Karina waved from her desk, grinning. "So this is the famous Lily," she said. "Nice to finally meet the person who keeps stealing the CEO on Tuesdays." Lily popped her chin up proudly. "Yeah, that's me," she said. "We're busy. Got park appointments." Ethan almost choked laughing. "She's not wrong," he said. "Back-to-back very important swing meetings." He showed Lily his office, let her spin in his giant chair, and watched her carefully align a tiny stuffed llama from her backpack next to his expensive monitor, like it belonged there. "You should leave it," she said, "so you don't forget I exist when you're doing spreadsheets or whatever." He swallowed, the casual line cutting way deeper than she meant it to. "Deal," he said. "Llama stays. Board approved." Later, when he walked her back down to the car, she skipped beside him like the world was made of good things and snacks, talking about how she was going to build an office way cooler than yours one day. "I'll invest," he told her. "Day one, I'll be your first customer, okay?" "You better," she said, shooting him a warning look that was pure Mia. No flaking. That night, after dropping Lily off and listening to her recap the whole visit to Mia in rapid-fire detail, Ethan hung back on the porch like he was waiting for the teacher's review of his performance. "She loved it," Mia said quietly once Lily ran inside. "She drew your office on a napkin while she was eating dinner, llama included." He smiled, letting that image settle somewhere warm in his chest. "Good," he said. "Maybe next time I'll let her fire someone. Really give her the full experience." Mia snorted. "Yeah, how about no?" she said. "But seriously, she's different lately. Lighter. Less tense." "I'm glad," he said. "Feels like I'm getting to know her for real now, not just from pictures and secondhand stories." There was a pause, the kind that could go either sweet or awkward, and for once, he didn't rush to fill it with jokes or plans. "You know she's going to ask you stuff eventually," Mia said finally, "about why things ended up the way they did. I'm not going to feed her some fake story, but I'm not throwing you under the bus either. That talk's going to be on you." He nodded, the truth hitting like cold water. "Yeah," he said. "I've been thinking about that. I don't want to lie to her, but I also don't want to dump adult mess on her." "Then just be honest without being cruel," Mia said. "Own your part. That's all I'm asking." "I will," he promised. "When she's ready to ask, I'll be ready to answer." He wasn't actually ready, but he was damn sure going to be. A few weeks later, on a breezy Saturday afternoon, he and Lily sat on the back steps of her house, the sun dipping low as they cooled off from an intense, slightly chaotic backyard soccer game. Lily's hair stuck to her forehead, and there was a grass stain on her jeans that would probably make Mia roll her eyes, but she looked happy as hell. "Dad?" she said suddenly, her voice quieter than it had been a second before. "Can I ask you something kind of big?" His chest tightened. "Yeah," here it was. "Yeah, kiddo," he said, keeping his tone gentle. "You can ask me anything." She picked at a loose thread on her knee, not looking at him at first. "How come you weren't around when I was little?" she asked. "Like baby. Little mom says you were busy, but everybody's busy." Ethan felt like the air thickened around him, every excuse he used to lean on, evaporating on the spot. He could have blamed work, timing, fear, all the vague grown-up words. But sitting there next to this kid who trusted him enough to ask, they all sounded weak as hell. "I messed up," he said finally, voice low. "For real, that's the truth. I was scared and selfish, and I chose work instead of stepping up when you and your mom needed me. It wasn't fair to either of you." Lily turned to look at him, eyes big and shiny, searching his face like she did when she was trying to decide if he was joking. "Were you mad at me?" she asked. "Like, did you not want me?" The question tore straight through him, no warning. "No," he said quickly, the word coming out almost too fast. "No, baby, never. I was never mad at you, not once. You didn't do anything wrong. You were just little. I was the one who didn't know how to handle being a dad." She sat with that for a moment, processing in that way kids do, where you can almost see the gears turning. "Mom cried sometimes," she said softly. "I heard her. I thought maybe it was my fault, 'cause you weren't there." Ethan's throat burned. "That wasn't your fault either," he said, forcing himself not to look away. "I heard her, and when grown-ups hurt each other, sometimes they cry. But that was about me, not you." "Okay." She blinked, a tear finally slipping down her cheek, and wiped it away with the back of her hand, like she was mad at it for escaping. "Are you going to leave again?" she asked. "Like when stuff gets hard?" He exhaled, long and shaky. "No," he said, "not this time. I can't change what I did before, and I'm really sorry for it. But I can promise you this. I'm here now, and I'm staying. Even when it's not fun, even when it's messy, I'm not bailing again. You promise?" "Cross my heart," he said, drawing an invisible X over his chest. "You can hold me to it. If I start flaking, you call me out." Loud. She studied him for another second, then leaned into his side, resting her head against his arm like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Okay," she whispered. "I still like you." He let out a laugh that was half relief, half heartbreak. "Good," he said. "I kinda like you too. You're all right?" Inside the kitchen, unseen, Mia stood by the window, watching them through the screen. One hand over her mouth, that old knot of anger and grief, loosening just a little more. Later that night, after Lily went to bed, Ethan lingered in the living room while Mia tidied up, stacking plates and wiping crumbs off the table. "She asked me," he said, leaning on the doorway, "about why I wasn't around before." Mia paused, sponge in hand, then nodded slowly. "Figured that was coming," she said. "How'd you handle it?" "Told her the truth," he said. "Not the messy details, just that I messed up, that it wasn't her fault, that I chose work and fear instead of being here." Mia set the sponge down and turned to face him fully. "You tell her you're not leaving again?" "Yeah," he said. "I promised." "Don't make that promise lightly," she said, but her voice didn't have the bite it used to. "She holds on to stuff. She remembers, I know," he said. "That's why I said it. I want her to hold me accountable." Mia studied him in that long, measured way she had, then sighed. "Okay," she murmured. "For what it's worth, you're doing better than I thought you would. I'll take that as a compliment," he said with a small smile. "Don't get cocky," she replied, but there was a hint of humor in her eyes. "You're still on probation." A few days later, Lily brought up a new idea while they were sprawled on the floor of Ethan's loft, working on a puzzle that somehow had way more sky pieces than any normal person should have to deal with. "Dad," she said, chin in her hands, eyes on the half-finished picture, "do you think Mom would ever want to, go somewhere with us? Like a trip or something? Just the three of us?" He paused, a blue puzzle piece in his fingers, heart giving an anxious little jump. "You thinking beach trip?" he asked casually. "Mountains? Disney? What's the vibe here?" She shrugged. "I don't know. Just somewhere, so we can all be together and not have to rush home. I like when you and Mom don't look mad at each other." He winced internally, but offered her a soft smile. "I like that too," he said. "I can ask her. No promises, but I'll bring it up." "Cool," she said, brightening instantly. "I want to get one of those tiny hotel shampoos. They're so cute," he laughed. "We can definitely arrange a tiny shampoo situation," he said. Top-tier trip requirement. The next time he met Mia for coffee, he waited until they'd both gotten over the initial, "I'm tired. How are you?" small talk before bringing it up. Lily's been talking about maybe doing a trip, he said, tracing the rim of his mug with one finger. Like all three of us. No big pressure, just her dream idea. Mia's shoulders tensed almost immediately, her eyes flicking up sharply. All ready? She asked. That kid does not waste time. I didn't suggest it, he said quickly. She did. I told her I'd ask you, that it might not happen right away. I'm not trying to rush you or fake some happy family montage. She leaned back, blowing out a slow breath. I'm not against it forever, she said. But I need to know this isn't just a phase for you. I'm starting to trust you again, but I'm not handing over that kind of expectation unless I really believe you're in it long term. That's fair, he said. Honestly. I'd be worried if you just said yes without blinking. She huffed a tiny laugh. Yeah, that would be weird, she admitted. Look, I see the work you're doing. I see the way she lights up when you text. Just give it a little more time. Keep doing what you're doing. If that holds, then we'll talk about trips. Okay, he said, nodding. I can work with that. I'll tell her we're in the planning someday stage, not the book tickets this second stage. Good, Mia said. But hey, I'm not slamming the door. It's something. It's more than something, he said. It's a horizon. As the months rolled on, the horizon got a little closer, bit by bit. Ethan started making small, practical changes that proved he was serious in ways that went beyond words. He turned down projects that would have pulled him out of town for weeks, quietly rerouting them to trusted execs with a simple, I can't be gone that long. He stopped scheduling late-night calls on Lily days, choosing instead to sit at her tiny desk while she did homework, pretending to be her assistant, and asking if she needed more markers or snacks. Sometimes they'd cook together at his place, which usually meant he burned something while she bossed him around from a bar stool like a miniature Gordon Ramsay. Dude, you cannot just leave noodles chilling like that, she'd say, gesturing dramatically with a wooden spoon. You've got to stir. Stir his life. Yes, chef, he'd reply, saluting her with a potholder. Teach me your ways. He carved out a little corner in his loft and turned it into Lily's zone, complete with a beanbag chair, books, a small shelf of art supplies, and a framed photo of the two of them at the park. When she saw it for the first time, she walked around the space slowly, like she was checking if it was really real, then just whispered, This is mine. Yup, he said, your official office. Thought the CEO needed a branch location. She threw her arms around him so hard he nearly lost his balance. You're so extra, she mumbled into his shirt, but he could feel her smiling. Slowly, the awkward edges between him and Mia started to soften too, not disappearing, but dulling enough that they could stand in the same kitchen and joke about Lily's obsession with dinosaur documentaries. They started having more practical conversations, school forms, doctor appointments, schedule swaps when someone got sick, and less about what went wrong or what if you bail. One evening, after a chaotic family game of Uno that ended with Lily crowning herself card queen of Earth, Mia and Ethan found themselves alone in the living room for a moment while Lily brushed her teeth. You know, Mia said, leaning against the doorway, I didn't think we'd ever get here. Not like this. Yeah, he said quietly. Me neither. I spent a lot of years pretending I didn't miss anything so I didn't have to feel how bad I actually had. You did miss a lot, she said, not cruelly, just stating fact. But you're not missing right now. Counts. He nodded, letting the words sink in. I'm not stopping, he said. Losing all that time was the worst ROI decision I ever made. She rolled her eyes. You and your business metaphors, she said, but she was smiling. At least use them for something good. Working on it, he said. One bedtime story at a time. A few days later, Lily crashed onto his couch, backpack tumbling to the floor, and announced, Dad, my teacher says we have to write about our favorite place for homework. Oh yeah, he said, lowering the TV volume. Gonna write about the park? The zoo? Your room? She shook her head, chewing her lip. I kinda want to write about here, she said. Like your place. Our place. Is that weird? His heart did that stutter thing again. No, he said, voice softer. That's not weird at all. That's pretty cool, actually. She grinned. Yeah, 'cause you got better snacks, she said. And you let me stay up 10 minutes later if I beat you at Mario Kart. You say that like it's easy, he said, clutching his chest in fake offense. You're ruthless.
Oh, mercy for your old man.
You're not old, she said, wrinkling her nose. You just talk like a boss all the time. But you're getting better. Thanks, he said, laughing. I'll put that on a performance review. That night, as she sat at his kitchen table, scribbling away at her homework, he watched her from the stove, heart full and weirdly achy at the same time. She was here, really here. The first real sign that things had shifted for good was how normal it all started to feel. Ethan would wake up, check his phone, and instead of scanning stock alerts first, he'd look for the silly memes Lily sent him before school. He'd scroll past work emails to see a blurry selfie of her with bedhead, captioned, "Monday is rude," and catch himself grinning like an idiot. One night as they were packing up her backpack at his place, Lily looked up and said, "Dad, did Mom tell you about spring break yet?" He froze, mid-zipper. No, he said carefully. What about spring break? Lily's eyes went wide. Psst, she said, clapping a hand over her mouth. I wasn't supposed to say anything yet. Just forget I said that. Yeah, okay, sure, he said, laughing. It's totally going to erase that from my brain. Gone. Vaporized. She squinted at him. You're so bad at lying, she said. But like in a good way. A couple days later, Mia texted him, Can we talk? In person? Not bad. Promise. They met at the same little cafe they'd used as a neutral zone for months. The one with wobbly tables and a barista who always played old R&B. Mia wrapped her fingers around her mug, staring at the swirl of foam like it might give her courage. So, spring break, she started. Lily's been dropping hints, huh? You might have mentioned it, he said, trying not to look too eager. She thinks she's slick. Mia's mouth curved into a small smile. She wants that trip, she said. And I think she's ready for it. I think we might be too. He sat back, letting that sink in. You sure, he asked? No rush. For real. I don't want to push you into something you're not cool with yet. I'm not saying we go book some 5-star resort and pretend nothing ever happened, she said. I'm saying maybe we do a long weekend somewhere close. Beach town, small rental, low pressure. Yeah, he said slowly. I like that. Sand, snacks, no weird expectations. Just us hanging out, doing normal stuff. I've been watching you, she said, and not in a creepy way. You've shown up. You've adjusted work. You're there when you say you'll be. That matters more than any speech. Speech is kind of my specialty, he said with a half smile. But I'd rather be the guy who keeps his word, not just the guy who talks nice. So here's what I'm thinking, Mia said. Drive down Friday, come back Sunday. We get a small place near the beach, make it about Lily, not us. If it goes well, great. If it's weird, we take the win that she had fun, and we learned something. Sounds like a good plan, he said. I'll cover the rental and gas. You handle snacks? Because if I shop, she's living on chips and cereal the whole weekend. Mia laughed softly. Deal, she said. I'll tell her tonight. It's probably going to explode. That evening, Ethan got a video from Mia of Lily screaming, We're going to the beach. And running in circles in the living room, while the dog barked in pure confusion. He replayed it 3 times, feeling this ridiculous, quiet joy settle over him. In the days leading up to the trip, he cleared his calendar like it was a mission. He told his team, Do not call me unless the building is literally on fire. And even then, text first. Karina smirked. Got it, she said. Family weekend will behave. Try to remember sunscreen, though. Shh, you burn like a marshmallow. Wow, hostile work environment, he muttered, but he was smiling. By Friday morning, his SUV was packed with beach chairs, a cooler, a stack of cheap beach toys, and one slightly battered stuffed llama that Lily insisted needed a vacation. He pulled up to Mia's place and found them waiting on the porch, Lily bouncing on her toes, holding a small suitcase covered in stickers. You ready for this? He called, leaning across the passenger seat to grin at her. Shh, she said, running down the steps. I've been ready since forever times 10. Mia locked the door behind her, slinging her own bag over her shoulder. Just so you know, she said, coming around the car. She made a playlist for the drive. You've been warned. Oh no, he said. Am I about to suffer through 3 hours of cartoon theme songs? It's a mix, Lily said seriously as she climbed into the back. It has vibes. They hit the highway with the windows cracked just enough to let in the early spring air. Lily's playlist bouncing between pop songs, movie tracks, and one random country song she refused to skip. At one point, she leaned forward between the seats and said, Hey, Mom, Dad, can we play that game where you ask questions about favorite stuff? Like favorite food, favorite color kind of thing? Ethan asked. Yeah, she said. I want to know your answers too. I'm collecting data. Okay, little scientist, Mia said. You start. They took turns sharing favorites: pizza, blue thunderstorms, swimming, old movies, lazy Sundays. When it was Ethan's turn again, Lily asked, "What's your favorite thing to do now?" He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Honestly, he said, hanging out with you too. That's not me being cheesy, by the way. That's just facts. Lily blushed and pretended to be very busy with her tablet game, but she was smiling. 3 hours and one gas station snack stop later, they rolled into a small coastal town with weathered storefronts, a boardwalk, and gulls yelling overhead like they owned the place. The rental house was small but cozy, with faded blue shutters, sandy wooden floors, and a living room that smelled faintly like salt and sunscreen. "This is awesome," Lily said, rushing from room to room. "Can I have the bed by the window? I want to hear the ocean when I sleep." "Go for it," Ethan said. "I'll take the couch if I have to. I snore anyway. Might as well keep my noise away from you guys." Mia raised an eyebrow. "You snore that bad?" she asked. "Allegedly," he said. "No one's ever proven it." They unpacked the basics, hit a nearby grocery store for simple stuffed cereal, fruit, sandwich fixings, and then headed straight for the beach while there was still a good stretch of daylight. The sand was cool beneath their feet, the water chilly but not unbearable, and Lily ran ahead, shoes in her hand, yelling, "Come on, you're so slow." Ethan jogged after her, feeling ridiculous but free, while Mia walked at her own pace, shoes dangling from her fingers, watching them both. They spent that first evening building lopsided sandcastles, writing their names with sticks near the shoreline, and chasing waves like they were 5 years old. At one point, Lily drew 3 stick figures holding hands in the sand and labeled them Mom, Dad, and me, then stepped back to admire it. "That's us," she said simply. Ethan looked at Mia, and Mia looked at him, and neither of them said anything for a second, caught off guard by how right it looked. "Yeah," he said finally. "That's us." Back at the house, they made grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup, crowding around the little table with damp hair and sun-pink noses, laughing over nothing and everything. After dinner, they played a card game Lily had brought, one with so many rules that Ethan kept messing them up, making her howl with laughter. When Lily finally crashed, half asleep before she even finished brushing her teeth, Ethan helped tuck her in, pulling the thin blanket up to her chin. "Thanks for bringing us here," she mumbled, already drifting off. "This is my favorite place now." He brushed a strand of hair off her forehead. "Mine too," he said quietly. Later, he and Mia ended up on the small porch, each with a mug of tea, the sky dark and full of stars they never saw clearly back in the city. The sound of the waves rolled in steady and low, like background music, while they sat in companionable quiet for a while. "This is strange," Mia said eventually, staring out into the dark. "Good strange, but still strange." "Yeah," he agreed. "Feels like we time traveled and skipped 10 messy years, except we didn't. And all that stuff is still real. I'm not pretending it didn't happen," she said. "But I also can't live in it forever. It's exhausting for me. For her. For you." He nodded, fingers curled around the warm mug. "I get that," he said. "I don't want to erase anything. Just want to build something better on top of it." "You're different now," she said, glancing over at him. "It's not just a show for a weekend. I've seen it for months. Therapy, a kid who calls me out when I'm on my phone too much, and a lot of late-night thinking," he said. "That combo will do it." "Therapy, huh?" she asked, faintly surprised. "You actually went?" "Yeah," he said. "Every week. My therapist basically told me I'd been running my life like a company and treating people like stakeholders instead of, people." "It wasn't cute." Mia snorted. "Sounds about right," she said. "But hey, if it got you here, I'll take it." They felt quiet again, the kind of quiet that didn't feel as heavy as it used to, just full of things they weren't rushing anymore. The next morning, Lily woke them up at what felt like dawn, bursting into the little kitchen with bedhead and pure enthusiasm. "Beach time," she shouted. "It's like illegal to sleep in on vacation." "Pretty sure that's not how laws work," Ethan mumbled, rubbing his eyes. "But okay, officer." They spent the day doing every cliché beach activity imaginable, flying a cheap kite that kept nosediving, collecting shells, Eating ice cream that melted too fast? Lily made Ethan bury her in the sand up to her neck, and then demanded he let her bury him, which ended with him covered in sand and regretting all his life choices. Mia took pictures of them both, trying to pretend she wasn't smiling as wide as they were, around mid-afternoon, as they sat under a big umbrella. Lily building llama tower out of sand beside them. Ethan's phone buzzed on the blanket. He glanced at the screen out of habit and saw his cou's name pop up, along with the words urgent, need you. His stomach did a small flip. Mia noticed the change in his face. Work? She asked quietly. Yeah, he said, thumb hovering. Could be nothing. Could be something. Lily looked up from her sand tower. You gotta go? She asked, voice small. He stared at the phone for another beat, watching old habits rise like automatic code, then pressed and held the power button until the screen went black. Nah, he said, setting the phone face down in the cooler bag. I'm off. They can survive without me for one weekend. You two can't. Lily's shoulders, which had tensed without him noticing, dropped in visible relief. Good, she said. I was going to be mad for like 100 years. Mia exhaled, a tiny smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. Look at you, she said. Actually unplugging. It's wild, he said. Turns out the planet keeps spinning, even if I don't answer a call. Later. When he finally checked his phone back at the house, there were a few missed calls and some frantic messages, but his team had handled it. Karina had texted, crisis averted. Also proud of you for not answering. Enjoy your beach dad era. He grinned and put the phone right back down. That evening, a storm rolled in quicker than the forecast had promised. Turning the sky gray and sending everyone scurrying off the sand, they ran back to the house in the wind, laughing and yelling as fat raindrops splattered around them, arriving soaked and out of breath. Welp, Ethan said, flipping on the living room light. Looks like the weather's grounding us. Indoor vibes only? That's okay, Lily said, already digging through her bag. I brought cards and my drawing stuff. You can make storm art. They changed into dry clothes and spent the evening sprawled on the floor, drawing goofy pictures, sharing snacks, and playing games while rain hammered the windows. At one point, the lights flickered and Lily startled, looking briefly worried. Hey, Ethan said, nudging her shoulder gently. We're good. We got candles, snacks, and I know how to scream dramatically if it gets too dark. She laughed, the tension breaking. You're so weird, she said. But thanks. When Lily finally crashed again, worn out from the day, Mia and Ethan ended up cleaning up crayons and snack wrappers in the quiet living room. She used to hate storms, Mia said softly, stacking cards. They freaked her out. You being calm helps. I used to hate silence, he said, tossing an empty chip bag in the trash. Now it's not so bad. Mia leaned against the counter, watching him for a moment. We're not. Whatever we were before, she said carefully. And I don't know if we'll ever be that again, but this. Being able to do this together for her, I'm grateful for that. Same, he said. I don't need a label right now. I just want her to know we're on the same team. We are, she said. Even when we're tired, even when we're annoyed. She's the priority now, and you finally act like that too. He nodded, feeling the truth of it settle in his chest. Took me long enough, he said, but I'm here. On their last night, the storm cleared just in time for a sunset that looked fake, all pink and orange and gold spilling across the water. They walked down to the beach one more time, Lily between them, her hands in theirs, the three of them leaving a trail of footprints along the wet sand. This is my favorite part, Lily said, watching the waves roll in. When the sky looks like cotton candy but not sticky. Very scientific, Ethan said. Sky cotton candy. Got it. She looked up at them suddenly, serious in that way kids get before they say something huge. Can we do this again? She asked. Not just one time. Mia and Ethan exchanged a quick glance, some quiet conversation passing between them without words. Yeah, Mia said. We can do this again. Maybe not every weekend, but this doesn't have to be the last time. For real, Ethan added. We're not going back to see you once a year at a random event. You're stuck with us now. Lily smiled so wide it made his chest ache. Good, she said. 'Course this feels like a real family. They stood there together until the sun slipped below the horizon. the chill creeping in and the sky darkening around them, not saying much, just existing in the same space. The drive home on Sunday was quieter, all three of them a little tired in that content post-trip way. Halfway back, Lily fell asleep in the back seat, clutching the llama like it needed protection, her head tilted against the window. Ethan glanced back at her in the mirror and then over at Mia. "She out?" he asked. "Done," Mia said, smiling softly. "She's going to be mad when we wake her up." He chuckled, fingers relaxed on the steering wheel. "Let her sleep," he said. "We got time." Back in the city, life slipped into its new rhythm more smoothly than he would have believed a year earlier. There were still tough days arguments over screen time, late nights when someone got sick, moments where old habits tried to creep back in, but he stayed. He showed up at school events with Mia, the two of them sitting side by side in tiny folding chairs, while Lily performed in school plays and science fairs. He became a familiar face at the park, not as some distant guy on his phone, but as the dad catching passes and pushing swings. At work, he restructured his schedule so family time wasn't a line item to be squeezed between meetings, but the thing he built everything else around. Months after the beach trip, he sat in the bleachers at Lily's first real soccer game, yelling encouragement like a lunatic while Mia laughed at him from the seat beside him. When Lily scored her first goal, she turned instinctively toward them, arms spread, grinning so bright it outshone the scoreboard. Ethan stood up without thinking, hands cupped around his mouth as he shouted, "That's my girl." After the game, she ran over, grass on her knees, hair messy under her too big jersey, and launched herself into his arms. "Did you see that?" she demanded. "Did you see me?" He hugged her tight. "I saw everything," he said. "I'm not missing anything anymore." That night, after dropping her off and saying goodnight, Ethan walked back to his car with Mia, the streetlights casting soft pools of light around them. "You're really in it," Mia said quietly. "Not just for now, I can tell." "I am," he said. "I don't know what the future looks like exactly, but I know who I want to be standing next to in it." She gave him a long look, then nodded. "One day at a time," she said. "That's enough for me." "One day at a time," he echoed. Later, back in his loft, he stood by the window, city lights twinkling below like 1,000 tiny signals, and listened to the echo of Lily's laughter in his head. All the charts, the numbers, the deals, they all still existed. They still mattered in their own lane, but they weren't the point anymore. He glanced over at the corner of the room where Lily's beanbag chair sat, a messy stack of books leaning beside it, a half-finished drawing left on the small table. His life didn't look as clean or as controlled as it once had, but it felt a hell of a lot more real. He wasn't just Ethan Cole, tech guy, or CEO, or the dude on the cover of some business magazine. He was Lily's dad. He was Mia's co-parent, partner in all the hard, messy decisions. He was the guy who turned his phone off at the beach and stayed when the storm rolled in. He was a man who'd almost lost the one kind of wealth that mattered most and had somehow been given the chance to earn it back. As he turned off the lights and headed for bed, his phone buzzed with a new message from Lily, a blurry picture of her soccer medal and the words, "Night, Dad, love you." He smiled, typed back, "Love you more. Proud of you, kiddo," and set the phone down on the nightstand. For the first time in a long time, Ethan went to sleep feeling not just successful or busy or needed, but whole.